by popular demand and major request, I am coming to you with my thoughts on the Godzilla movie. I just saw it. I just got back from the theater, so this is straight from the screen to my brain to you. I saw a Godzilla movie. There's my review right there. It's a Godzilla movie. Okay, it fits. It qualifies. All right. I mean, for me personally, it's not really a Godzilla movie, or at least not a traditional Godzilla movie, unless it's a rubber suit and it's made in Japan. It's got to be Toho. But you know, there's been tons of those, so I think this one holds the distinction of being the first American Godzilla movie that, well, there's this one here, but I don't know. Does anybody remember this anymore? Yeah, we remember it. Maybe the wounds are healing from it now, but so this new one holds the distinction of being the first American Godzilla movie, like I said. So we can forget about that other one. I think this one just it corrected an error, and basically that's where I think a lot of the praise is really coming from. I think is just that I mean, the bar was set so low before, but this one actually is pretty good. But for me personally, it came 16 years too late, because this is the Godzilla movie I wanted back then. That's just me personally, because when I was a fan of Godzilla back in the 90s, I really wanted to see Godzilla make a crossover to Western audiences, because it seemed like something that was mostly popular in Japan, and that nobody in America seemed, few people seemed to catch on to it. And I just wanted to see Godzilla break into the mainstream here in America, and they fucked it up the first time. But now they got it right. And I was really hyped back then for the Matthew Broderick one, because I first heard about that in like '92, and I was following all the development up until the release of it. So this is the movie I would have liked to see back then, and it makes you wonder, why couldn't they have done it back then? Because there's nothing out of the ordinary in this new one. So this is the Godzilla movie that I think the younger generations of America today needed, or maybe even the whole world. So this is the one that's right for the time. But with that said, there were some things in it that I wasn't very thrilled about. I really don't want to say anything negative about it, but this is what I saw just now, so I have to, be honest. I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, because I think you should just go into the movie and see it fresh, with an open mind. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, not any major spoilers, just things that you probably know already if you've seen the trailers or talked to anybody about it. But if you don't want to hear anything else, then stop the video here. Anyway, there are other monsters in the movie. Okay, I mean, I think that's well known, but which I think is great. We wanted to see Godzilla fight other monsters. That's something which is more advanced, where they're not just rebooting the first movie where it's just Godzilla. They're actually paying tribute to the franchise, and what it's all about is Godzilla fighting other monsters. So of course I love that. Of course I wanted to see this happen, but the other monsters suck, because it's the same fucking thing. It's the Cloverfield monster. It's the monster from Super 8. It's the same fucking thing over and over again. And I just think it comes down to that Americans are not creative when it comes to giant monsters, because they just can't think outside, like, I mean, the monster, it really, the first time I saw it, the face, it kind of reminded me of Orga, and then when I noticed the shape of the head and the wings, it sort of reminded me of Gauss from the Gamera series. But then when it's walking around in that sort of like, arachnid fashion, it just reminded me of every other monster that we've seen lately. And the Japanese are so creative with monsters. Think about Gigan or Biolante or Legion. It's just, the Japanese are so much more creative in coming up with monsters, and that's why they should be doing this shit instead of Americans. But still, it was great to see him fight other monsters. But the other thing that happened was that you saw these other monsters too often, more often than I think you even see Godzilla. So why did Godzilla get, put in the second place? It seemed that way to me. Anyway, it just felt like you were seeing the other monsters more than Godzilla. And also there was too much Godzilla tease going on, which is the way the movies are supposed to be. You look at the first movie from 60 years ago, and it does such a great job building up suspense to see Godzilla, because you have to have that human element. You need to show us human characters and tell us their stories, and then slowly bring in the monsters. But this one, I think, weighed too much on the human elements, because after a while, and I was really loving it in the beginning. I thought, like, wow, this is hitting it right on the money. This is great. And it even started with credits. When have you ever seen a movie begin with credits lately? They always put the credits at the end. But, credits are great to get you into the mood. But it set the tone for the movie, but I'm getting off track here. Basically, once the movie started going and everything, eventually it got to this point where you would see something happen with the monsters, and then it would just cut away. It would cut away to a TV screen in the background or something. And at first I thought, well, that's kind of cool. Let's, see it from a more distant perspective, and then show us the aftermath, so it's all in our head what happened. So I thought that was okay at first, but then they did it again, and then again. And I think it was the time when they first introduced Godzilla, or they first showed his face, and he roars, and it's awesome, and everybody's clapping, and then all of a sudden it just cuts away. And I was like, okay, really? You did it again? When are you going to show us more monster action? So that's how I felt. I just, at a certain point, it was losing me. I was like, okay, you need to get some monster action going. And finally at the end it all came back, and then it started to feel like, yeah, I'm watching a Godzilla movie. So it all came back in place at the end, and overall it was a very much welcome return for the King of the Monsters. So but I think this is just the beginning. I think we need to see more Godzilla movies. I think this is sort of like 101. Let's bring it back to what Godzilla is, basically. They sort of grounded the plot in reality a little bit. I mean, not, sort of in reality. We're talking giant monsters and stuff, but there's been so many different monster movies now that sort of have experimented in different ways. Like Pacific Rim, we have giant robots fighting monsters, and that movie had its own look. It had a lot of neon and a lot of spectacle, and that's what it was about. And then this one was sort of more about the characters. I think basically what I'm trying to say is that I think we've already experimented enough. I think now we just need to move forward and keep experimenting. And I'd love to see this simple monster story snowball into something even crazier. I'd like to see time travel and aliens, and just throw it all in. Just let's go nuts again. Let's get it back to like Godzilla Final Wars, which was probably the craziest Godzilla movie, and the last one, 10 years ago now. So I wonder if Toho will start making them again, if history will repeat itself like it did with Godzilla 2000. So I hope it's just the beginning. Godzilla's back. Let's keep him back.